Well, welcome back, everybody. Have you ever noticed how the best CIOs and the best leaders overall have that ability to stay focused on things that matter and to help their people do the same? As I was preparing for this podcast with Collins Aerospace CIO Mona Bates, I kept thinking about her special ability to keep her eye on the prize. So now you know where the title came from. But there's a little twist here, a little play on words, or maybe in this case, a play on letters. The I is the letter I and recognizes Mona's special ability in her leadership story as a chief impact officer, as a chief innovation officer, as a chief integration officer, as a chief influence officer, and more. Those aren't her official titles, but those are ways that make her really special as a leader. So I want to dig in. We have a lot of ground to cover. Mona, welcome to the podcast. Knowing you as I do, I want to jump in the deep end of the pool right out of the gate. Let's talk about Mona, the Chief Instigation Officer. Some of the synonyms for instigate, by the way, I looked it up: provoke, promote, encourage, incite, stimulate, set in motion, action-oriented words, Mona. And so definitely not for the faint of heart. Why is it so important for the CIO to be the Chief Instigation Officer today? And how does it differentiate you as a C-suite leader?
Well, Dan, CIOs are very well positioned to help change the status quo for our companies, to help us think differently, work differently. We truly have a front row seat to the business landscape. We understand the strategies of the business. We understand the challenges. We also understand where we have opportunities. So in a way, it's our obligation to be proactive, to be chief instigation officers in the way that we partner. We're able to connect dots. We're able to partner with our peers. We're able to propose ideas and thoughts to innovate and to work differently. When I think about this, I think about the last couple of years coming out of the pandemic. Our company had our own challenges with supply chain, inventory shortages, things of that nature. And I'm sure we weren't unique in that. Many companies struggled with the same thing. And as I reflect about these challenges, the problems we had to solve, I remember, many times actually, where we partnered with our supply chain and operations team to look at the problems we're facing, to use data and analytics to document the problems, to look at the patterns, to drive insights and figure out, what can we expect? How can we predict the behavior of these suppliers? And that enabled us to work together and really put solutions in place that help mitigate that risk. And when I reflect on it, some of these calls we've received from our supply chain partners, but many of these calls we actually made, my team made very proactively to say, hey, here is a problem that we are struggling with, and here are potential ways that we can solve them. So this is just one example of how we could be chief instigation officers to help our business solve problems.
So good. I didn't mention in my introduction, Mona, maybe you could just share with us, but you talk about the supply chain. Just talk about the size scale of Collins Aerospace. I mean, it's a major global company.
Yes, Collins Aerospace is a very diverse business. We cater to the aviation industry. Our customers are the airplane or platform OEMs like Boeing and Airbus. We serve the airline industry. We are very diversified in the product portfolio that we offer. We are a global organization, $26 billion in revenue and growing, with a workforce of over 80,000 employees around the globe. It's an amazing business. The mission that we have, I like to say we don't make the airplane, but we make almost every product on an airplane. And it's a fun business to be in.
Yeah, really impressive and just so important what you do. And as the world gets more mobile. And, as we were preparing, Mona, and again, I appreciate you following the podcast. You love the mystery questioners that we bring on and how they help unpack the story and the superpowers of my guests. So we're going to flip this on you now. And so we've got a couple of amazing people. You're going to love when you hear their voices. So we have the first one teed up. Let's listen in, and when we come back, tell us who this is, and you'll have a great question to tackle.
Hi, Mona. My question has to do with your leadership superpowers as an amazing transformation leader. One of your greatest superpowers is your knowledge of the business model, your knowledge of the products and the value streams of your business. This has given you the ability to get the leadership team on board and invested in the big changes and the new capabilities that you know you need to deliver. Can you share some examples of how you've introduced and then executed significant transformation within your business?
Rebecca Rhodes, an amazing leader, mentor that I've had the pleasure to work with and work for several years. Rebecca is former president of Global Business Services at Raytheon, and actually is CIO Hall of Famer. Really awesome to hear your voice, Rebecca, and thank you for the question. So how do we, get to learn the business, and how do we influence transformations that add value? What I'll tell you is, as CIO, I look at my job to be a business leader first and a technology leader second. We must invest the time needed in order to learn our business, to learn our products, to learn how we create those products, and then how we go to market with them. CIOs must understand how value is generated for our companies and for our customers as well. And so, with that, one of the most rewarding experiences of my job is when I have a chance to go tour our factories, our engineering labs, talk to our employees, talk to our shop floor workers and supervisors. And that not only allows me to learn the business more deeply, but it allows me, an understanding of what makes our employees more or less productive. It allows me to walk in their shoes for just a little bit so I can do my job better as a CIO. And I could bring my team along to help our employees solve the problems that impede our productivity and efficiency. So it's incredibly important that, we take the time to do all of this. Coming to Collins about 2.5 years ago now, it's been a fun journey. But one of the initiatives that we are driving right now is called Digital Product Lifecycle. One of the pillars under this initiative is factory digitization. It didn't take me very long to realize the incredible opportunity that we have in this space. I partnered with my peer in operations, the vice president of operations at the time. We talked through, how do we double down in the innovations that already happen in the factories? How do we create a common, unified strategy that help us accelerate the innovations? So we locked arms, we stood up a team, we put a strategy together. We, of course, had to prioritize the work that needs to be done based on the most value that it delivers. And we went at it. And I'm so happy to say we are in the second year of execution and we are going strong. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. And I'll talk about her here in a couple of minutes. Just one of the most special people, gifted leader, what she's accomplished. And again, I want to just hold that for a minute. But I want to have you talk a little bit more about your role, the different hats you're wearing. I'm doing the I thing, but you're a third-time CIO. And what does the role look like at Collins today?
Well, first, I've been blessed to be a part of the RTX family for 13 years. So RTX is our mother company, if you will, and Collins Aerospace is one of the business units, under the umbrella of RTX. So I've been blessed with many opportunities over the last 13 years, different roles with increasing responsibilities. The last 3 have been in a CIO capacity, where I'm responsible for all aspects of IT, cybersecurity, and digital transformation across the business. And here, more recently, my role as CIO at Collins Aerospace, Collins has been born from a series of strategic mergers and acquisitions over the last decade, which make us the powerful company that we are. And it's been quite a thrill to lead a great global organization as we integrate our business while driving transformation at the same time.
Yeah, and these businesses, you've got commercial, you mentioned Boeing, Airbus, and the airlines. You've got the defense side as well. I know some are big programs, multi-year. You can't talk about them, those kinds of programs. And how do you establish a technology strategy to serve both of those unique businesses?
Yeah, Dan, that's right. So both at RTX and at Collins, we do cater to both the commercial and military side of aerospace. And so I've had the opportunity to work in both businesses, Raytheon, which is largely defense, and now at Collins, which is a mix of defense and commercial. The defense side, tends to be the business has and the programs has a little bit of a longer cycle, if you will. We partner very closely with our customers. We collaborate on the requirements because the products and the capabilities that we create are very uniquely designed for that kind of defense mission. So a lot of collaboration with the customers, a lot of the acquisition process, and actually the work that we do is driven through strict contractual requirement and specification of a product. So and as I said, it tends to take a little bit longer to design, produce, and field those capabilities. And similarly on the commercial side, we are a regulated industry, and we tend to invest in differentiating technology that we know our customers need, whether it's now, or in the future. So we proactively invest, we develop capability, we demonstrate that capability in anticipation of the demand and the volumes our customers expect. So whether it's the commercial side or the defense side, we are highly regulated industry, and we have to follow the highest safety, quality, and performance standards. So, as CIO, it's fun to support this business because the requirements are not always the same. The regulatory frameworks and compliance frameworks that we have to comply with are not necessarily the same. So we have to find the balance and the ability to serve both sides of the business and stay compliant and safe at all times.
So good. You talked a little bit about some of the digital transformation work you're doing in the factories. I know you're doing this across many dimensions, many layers. Take us inside that journey, the vision. Why is this important? And we know the success rate is pretty low with digital transformation, right? So you've got that headwind out there. So I'd love to have you talk about that, and also, in your role as Chief Integration Officer, at the same time, you're having to integrate all these heritage companies that are part of Collins now. So talk about transformation, talk about how you balance integration, transformation. There's a lot going on there, Mona.
Definitely. And there are a couple of parts there, Dan. I'll break it down a little bit. So first, digital transformation tends to be an overused term. There's a lot of excitement around it. We kind of started with defining what that means, right? To help our constituents understand that and rally behind it. And it's fairly simple. We look at digital transformation as the infusion of modern technology, talent, agile processes, and data in order to enhance how we work internally and then how we go to market with our products. So that's kind of how we define digital transformation. And over the last 4 years or so, we have partnered across the digital function under the leadership of our corporate chief digital officer, Vince Campisi. We've initiated one digital transformation strategy for the whole company that we as CIOs execute locally in our businesses based on the priorities and the demands of those businesses. And so The digital transformation strategy is fairly easy to comprehend, but as you can imagine, complex to implement, given the size and scale of the company that we have here. We have 4 pillars to the digital transformation strategy. First is about strengthening and securing the foundation. As I mentioned, Dan, we are working to integrate the company not only at the Collins level, but at the RTX level. If you know much about our company, in 2020, actually RTX was formed through the merger of equals between Raytheon and UTC. And at the Collins level, I mentioned all of the mergers and acquisitions as well. So integration is happening at different layers of the organization. So this first pillar around strengthening and securing the foundation is incredibly important to make sure we're unifying our networks, we're deploying the collaboration capabilities that enables our employees to work anywhere, anytime, and securely. The second pillar to our digital transformation strategy is around optimizing our systems landscape and business processes. And I'll tell you, just at Collins alone, our portfolio of applications started around 2,500 applications. It's a pretty large portfolio of applications that we've been working to rationalize. But it's not only about the systems and applications, it's about the business processes, how we streamline them in order to drive the business efficiency in our functions. So that's the second pillar. Third is all about our data strategy, which is a critical enabler to true digital transformation. We've invested in our data ecosystem and an enterprise-wide data platform that allow us to access troves of data, treasures of data that we are sitting on as a company, which is absolutely foundational to creating competency and capability around AI and machine learning and analytics that help us produce business insights and enable faster decision making. And then last but not least, our fourth pillar of the strategy is around digitizing the product lifecycle. This is where we are introducing digital enablers, high fidelity software models, along with data in order to connect our products through the life cycle from engineering, and design phases to manufacturing, to aftermarket and support. So this is kind of in a nutshell our digital transformation strategy. We have been investing in it, and we're really lucky in the sense that our senior leadership team understand the opportunity and the advantage of this. So we've been able to balance the investment in a few places.
So impressive. I mean, congratulations. Those 4 pillars are so impressive, Mona. And I'm curious how that is setting you up to be the Chief Innovation Officer. What's that lens look like? How are you leveraging digital to enable innovation across the company?
It's about making trades. It's about really thinking about the priorities, the things that are important to do. And, let's face it, we have a lot of investments that we're making, but as CIO, I don't always have all I want in order to drive the innovations I want to drive, right? So it's always a balance and a trade around where is the most value that enables our employees and business. So we talked about the integration, we talked about the foundational elements that we must have, but we constantly look as to how do we not do all of this at the expense of innovation? And how do we balance that equation? And if I was to share a couple of examples, I mentioned our data strategy and building the enterprise platform, being able to tap into the, treasures of data that we have and leveraging data as a strategic asset, not only to enable internal efficiency, but to really help us drive value to our customers, with the products and the services that we deliver. One of the things we've been able to do is create data sets and sources of truth, whether it's coming from products on board an aircraft or data sets coming out of our business systems. Think about weather data. Weather is very important for flight, as you can imagine. We also own this tremendous company called Flight Aware. They have amazing data sets as well. We've been able to combine many of these data sets together in order to drive insights and help our engineering teams, create data products that help the flights be more optimized and more safe. So, when we talk about innovation, we're spending quite a bit, in our data ecosystem, so we can enable our company internally as well as our customers.
Incredible, incredible. You know, great leaders today, and I think it's always been this case, but even more pronounced now, are those who are most effective are chief influence officers, getting things done through influence, not by, pointing and shouting, right? So let's pretend you're talking with one of your many mentees right now, Mona. How would you counsel them, advise them, coach them on building the muscle of influence when they don't have direct power?
Dan, it always starts with trust and building trusted relationships, building those alliances and partners around you. I think having trust as a foundation help us go a long way in achieving our goals and our ambitions. So investment in those relationships, is important. I'd also say, there is two other ingredients critical to influential leadership. One is competency. In order to establish trust and influence our customers, our stakeholders, we have to demonstrate competency. And that doesn't mean we have to be experts, deep experts in everything that we do, but we got to know our facts. We need to know what we're talking about. So that's one. The second ingredient is connection. Being able to connect to people, have the emotional intelligence to understand the other side of the story. I think being able to do that to help people rally around the problem and bring it to the middle is extremely important. So I'd say trust, competency, connection are critical to influential leadership.
This kind of brings me to something I wanted to share, and I know it makes you uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it anyways, Mona. One of the great awards in our industry is sponsored by Constellation Research. Ray Wang, people know Ray very well. Very one of the top thought leaders in our industry. You see him on CNBC and news channels all the time, being quoted. And so they sponsor the Constellation Research Business Transformation 150 award every year. So a few weeks ago, they came out with their list. And I think I might have been the one to make you aware that you were one of the winners. And you were like, what does this mean? I'm like, well, here's what the award's all about. The BT, the Business Transformation 150, is an elite list of the top global executives leading innovative business transformation efforts across their organizations. Each executive demonstrates proficiency in establishing and building new business models, implementing emerging technologies, and leading in an ethical and humane manner. So congratulations, Mona. It's pretty special.
Well, thank you, Dan. And I was delighted to hear about the nomination. And, when you said a little bit uncomfortable, and I kind of wiggled a little bit, it's because these awards and recognitions are never about one person. It's about the team. It's about the company. It's about our investment and commitment to digital transformation and being on the forefront in order to support our customer missions and create value. So thank you for making me aware of it, and thank you for helping me understand what it means actually to be nominated and recognized. It's very appreciated.
Yeah, folks should go take a look at the list. It's just a really impressive list of people, and you'll recognize many of the names on there. And I thought it's interesting, Mona, that it recognizes leading in an ethical and humane manner, which makes me think of Mona, the Chief Integrity Officer, and how you lead in that way. So I don't know if you do it, it's just part of you, how you intuitively lead, but I think you're pretty special in that way.
When we talk about ethics and integrity, this is the most critical aspect of any company and culture and any organization that's built to last. End of story, right? So we must lead with the highest level of integrity and ethics, and we must create an environment that enables our employees to do the right thing at all times, regardless how hard it is, how tough it is, what the message is. It is our responsibility to help our employees speak up and not be worried about retaliation. So critical, ethics and integrity in our culture.
Next week, there's another award series that I think is really special. And you mentioned Rebecca Rhodes being a Hall of Fame CIO. And next week, I'll actually be there at the CIO 100 Awards, where the new inductees will be recognized. And as you know, I have this honor of leading the Leadership Masterclass as part of that program. So it's always a highlight of the year. I want to kind of pivot to Mona, the Chief Insights Officer. And you've talked a bunch about your data strategy. Really impressive what you're doing there from a data platform, data strategy. There's this thing called AI. I don't know if you've heard of it. AI, Gen AI, going around these days. And so maybe just kind of share some insights around that in terms of how you're thinking about that, how you're approaching that as part of your larger data and AI strategy.
The opportunity with AI and all its flavors, including Gen AI, is tremendous. We recognize the opportunity with the evolution of this technology, and we are on the forefront to exploit, the advancement in this technology. And it's more than the technology. Actually, as a company, we are focused on the policy and the governance framework that we must have and continue to evolve in order to make sure we're deploying the technology and using it in a way that is safe and compliant, given the type of business that we do. So tremendous, investment in building and in evolving the governance and the policy framework. Equally as important is the training, the skill set development, and the change management to make sure our workforce are equipped with the capabilities so they can be successful interacting and making the best use of the technology. And on the technology front, there is, we're experimenting a lot. AI isn't new to our company and environment. We have a lot of proven capability that utilizes that. But on the Gen AI front, we're experimenting, quite a bit. One use case I'm extremely excited about, and this is actually within my own digital technology function. I mentioned earlier that our portfolio of applications is very large, and we've made tremendous progress rationalizing and consolidating, the duplicative applications. But one thing I find is that as I talk to our, shop floor workers, our engineers, sometimes there is not enough knowledge about the capability that exists. So in some cases, people are excited to create the next new thing. And so I challenged my team. I said, how can we use generative AI to create a smart search capability that basically mimics the thinking of our employees? If it's a supply chain employee, it's an engineer, it's an operations, or aftermarket worker, how do we mimic kind of their thinking and create a search capability that help them find what we already have in our application portfolio or our data product set, right? So I just got a demo of this capability. It's pretty impressive. I'm playing with it myself, but really it's intended to help our employees easily find what already exists in our environment that they could consume and leverage to help make their job easier. And so it's about ease of use. It's about the employee experience. It's also around efficiency and reducing duplication in our environment, as well as adopting the latest standards. So really cool use cases, and it's one of many that we are experimenting with.
I think people are starting to get a really good feel for all that's going on under your purview there at Collins, and the scale, the complexity, the speed, the different businesses you're in. As I talk to different people around you who know you well, who see you lead, see you in times of what could be seen as really high stress, one of the things they say is you have this incredible ability to stay calm under pressure. And you do that as an executive while also having a very busy and active family, balancing all these things. So how do you do that? How do you get yourself and your team through those really rough spots and stay so calm?
Not always easy to do. But then when I think about it, and there is a lot that goes on in our day to day, as you can imagine, that's, tough issues to deal with, tough decisions that need to be made. So, but what's important is that we keep perspective and really being able to differentiate between the important things that we need to sweat and the noise that we could just let go. So stepping back and really kind of thinking for a moment, around the issue at hand, and really keeping perspective and making that decision. Do I need to sweat this or do I need to let it go? This actually reminds me of a colleague and dear friend of mine I used to work with, who is a former Marine, spent many years as a nuclear operator on a submarine. We worked together way back when at the Missile Defense Agency. And so when I would get excited about things, he would say, Mona, we are not at 400 feet going towards the bottom. Take a deep breath and it'll be okay. And that wisdom lived with me for many years. I still think about Mike, and when situations get tough, it's like, we're not at 400 feet going towards the bottom. And it's important as leaders that we portray that confidence and calm to our employees, but at the same time, be factual about the situation. I also give a lot of credit to my husband. We go, on many walks, and he helps me keep perspective on things, whether I like it or not. And then when all fails, I love running. Is a stress outlet for me is running. I lace up and I just go on a nice long run, and that kind of helps me keep things in perspective as well.
Fantastic. Well, speaking of running, it takes a lot of leadership courage to instigate change and to challenge the status quo, to have hard conversations, to make the tough calls. And so it takes a lot of stamina, it takes a lot of resiliency and energy. Our friend Rebecca Rhodes had a second mystery question. I didn't want to lose it because it's just so rich. So let's listen into Rebecca's second question.
Hi, Mona. A key superpower you have is your resilience. This can't be taken for granted. Not only is it critical for the health and strength of the CIO, but it's also key in the long game for the business. As we all know too well, the strategic big changes and investments that businesses need to make are usually multifaceted and span several years. Your superpower has allowed you to consistently and constantly keep the business case and vision in front of not just the leadership, but of the employees who are implementing and working so hard to achieve the results. They embrace your vision just as the leaders do. How do you do that?
Such a rich and thoughtful question too. Our jobs as CIOs to drive the innovations, to drive new and different ways of thinking, to enable our business and our workforce with solutions that help us get better all the times. But those innovations and those ideas take money, and often those investments are competing with a bunch of other good ideas that somebody else have, right? So it's that business case, Rebecca reference is, incredibly important. First, we got to set the vision. We got to help, people understand why is this important and how is it going to differentiate us from where we are today. Being able to articulate the value. And I think one thing I learned over time is talking about value 5 years from now might not be enough, because investments we're making today have got to realize some sort of value along the way. So it's really important that we understand the end state, but also the value that's going to be generated along the way. The other thing I learned is don't be afraid when you're told no. The important thing is to not quit, not give up, go refine your message, go refine the business case, and come back. If it is a good vision, good idea that's going to drive value for the business, you got to persist, you got to be resilient, you got to tone up your message and just come back, and try it again. And the last thing I would say is those partnerships. Um, you can't be the only voice pitching the idea. Partnering with my peers, and I do that a lot. We have an incredible leadership team, here at RTX and at Collins that I have the privilege to work with. Making the phone call, allowing people to join voices with me when we pitch those big innovations is extremely important. So that's how we keep it sold. That's how we generate the innovation and the value. But also from a team perspective, um, rarely do anybody call to say thank you, right? And our teams don't get the thank you calls very often that they deserve. So it's very important for us to make sure they understand the vision and they see themselves in it. We must empower them to really execute this, vision with us and on our behalf, and rewarding them along the way, making sure they understand when things get tough that we have their back, that we support them, and we reward them for the outcome. So not easy work, but really important work for what we do as CIOs.
Amazing leadership lessons there. Also, just I think the right psyche to go into this work with, right? To how to think about these things and the value, how we communicate our value. We got to continue to do that. The idea of no, right? I mean, great negotiators realize that's just the starting point. That's not the end point. That's just the conversation just getting started. So really, really good. And Rebecca, thank you again. And when she was asking her question, I should have mentioned we actually flashed a copy of the book that Brian Watson and I wrote a few years ago called Confessions of a Successful CIO, where we featured 9 of the most amazing leaders on the planet. And Rebecca, we were really blessed to be able to tell her story. Probably one of the most incredible answer the call moments in all of business, what she did. But you got to go read the book. I'm not going to tell you the story.
Rebecca, the rocket scientist. I have the book. I've read the chapter many times. It's incredible.
So good, so special. Yeah. Something I want to position for this next mystery question, and for our newer in career people, Mona, and I think anybody really anywhere in the journey, just realize that your brand you start to build starts to happen early in your career, right? And you even at an early age, I think you might have been 21, so this is maybe going to give you a little clue who this is, but you started building a brand back then as someone who was special, someone that earned new opportunities. So listen to this question. Tell us who this is, and I think you'll enjoy the discussion.
Take yourself back to Colorado Springs, Garden of the Gods, MCI. You're sitting in the mailroom. You are getting ready to embark on a career in network. Can you possibly envision your start coming to a country, different culture, different language, different ways of doing things? Coming from the mailroom, can you envision that one day you would be the CIO?
Mike Britton. Mike, it's been a long time. Really good to hear your voice. Mike Britton was the first leader that entrusted me in a people manager job. Yes, we were in Colorado Springs, worked together at a telecommunication company called MCI, for those of you who remember that. And it was very, very early in my career. Thank you, Mike, for being, an amazing sponsor from the very beginning. I often reference your leadership and the career doors that you opened for me from the very beginning. And I was lucky to have a leader like you who saw in me, which honestly, I didn't see in myself. As a young a professional, just migrated to the United States from a different country, was still trying to get my arms around the culture, the English language, and all the opportunity that I have in front of me. So you've given me those opportunities, and I'm grateful for them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Mike was vacationing. He's been retired, and he was just so happy to do this. And he remembers like it was yesterday. He's like, she was working her tail off, She was taking classes for citizenship. She was going to school, and so he's still a fan of yours. And so pretty special story. And thank you, Mike, I know he had a 20-year military career at the Marine Corps, and really appreciate that. This next one is probably something you're not going to maybe not agree with me on, but everybody who knows you would. Mona, the Chief Inspiration Officer. And, inspirational leaders have different styles. It's not always the rah-rah kind of inspiration. So maybe just kind of step back, have an out of body experience, Mona. How is it what's your style? What's your approach to motivate people to go do hard things, to achieve things they probably didn't even know they could achieve?
It's about servant leadership. It's about being authentic as a leader and, supporting and rewarding people for their accomplishments, but also holding them accountable when that's needed. So to me, it's I've learned this from great leaders like Rebecca and Mike and others over the years. Is you gotta have a vision, you gotta have a North Star, and a plan for your organization. You gotta help people understand how they fit in that vision, and mission. You gotta trust them, empower them, give them the resources they need to be able to be successful. But also, some tough love is not a bad thing. Holding people accountable to results, and when things are not going well, to be the coach, right? To kind of help them, stay the course and meet our commitments. So I think if you do these things, right, it's not hard to get people to walk with you and to help support you in executing the vision.
That's great advice. And, Mona, we're at a time where we're going to be seeing record CIO retirements in the next couple of years. And I know I just have so many friends who are in that place. And so that means there's a lot of opportunities for people to become first-time CIOs. And while you're a three-time CIO, it wasn't that long ago you were a first-time CIO. So maybe take us back then and, on the topic of inspiration, why would you encourage folks to put their name in the hat, to take the shot, to pursue those opportunities? And what are some of your lessons learned when you think back to your first CIO gig?
Yeah, we absolutely need more CIOs. We need more female CIOs, as well. And so, first of all, it's a fun job, right? We had the chance to talk a little bit about the journey, how we are driving innovation and value, how we partner, right? It is an incredibly fun job. And when I talk to mentees and people around me, I've actually been a little bit discouraged at times where when I ask the question, who aspires to be CIO? And the hands don't go up. And it really makes me kind of pause and ask the question again, why is the hands, not going up? I think, the advice I would give folks is that, you know, pursue your dreams. If you have a passion, if you want to get to a CIO role or any other, senior leader role, don't let, um, don't be discouraged by fear or, well, I can't do this, or the plate is too full. The fact is you could make, adjustments. You can create a support system. You could shed off the plate the things that are not as important. If this is a passion and a dream for you, pursue it. Give it the time, to kind of help you get there. Don't just dismiss it. So I am a mother of two, happily married. I'm very involved in my community. I have an amazing, career and blessed with the position that I have. And I tell you, it wasn't always easy. There was actually a time in my career where I gave up the job, not knowing that I can do it all. But I had to come back and really follow my passion, follow my dream, and I found a way. And I really hope all the listeners, men or women, if you have that passion, don't let anything get in the way. Go for it. I think you could do it.
So Mona, we're winding down. Last question, but not least. one of my favorite parts of the podcast, which is where we shine the light on one of the STEM-based nonprofit organizations that is making a difference in our industry. And to steal a couple of your eyes from the show, those are having an incredible impact and influence in our profession. As you know, we commit over $100,000 a year through scholarships to our highly successful IT leadership development program called TechLX. As a guest of the show, you've got this ability to gift a seat in TechLX to a deserving nonprofit. So Mona, let's make the announcement, the reveal. Who is the fortunate recipient?
Yeah, well, first, Dan, thank you for doing this. I think it's incredibly gracious of you to give back and to contribute to these nonprofit STEM organizations that help us advance our field and our profession and build that pipeline of talent for the future. The organization I selected is Girls Who Code. And I know this is not a new organization to you. I'm sure other CIOs have selected this Girls Who Code, and what an incredible organization and story. It is an organization that's helping us bridge the gender gap in STEM. Our company RTX is a big sponsor of this organization in big ways. In fact, our CDO, Vince Campisi, is a board member for Girls Who Code. And the timing is perfect. We're actually actively working the summer immersion program. We have several cohorts that we host every year at RTX, and we're actually in the midst of that program. So the timing is good, and thank you so much for giving us that opportunity, Dan, to continue to support Girls Who Code.
Yeah, Mona, you mentioned it. They are, and I believe they are our first 7-time winner of this gift, this scholarship. So thank you for highlighting them, their good work. Obviously, the CIO community has spoken, right? If someone like Mona, our last guest, Brian Abramson, our last podcast, also gifted it to Girls Who Code. You get people like Vince Campisi who are on their board giving time. So that tells you a lot. So I was stating we will get them plugged into the TechLX, that 9-month leadership program for IT leaders. Well, Mona, we are kind of winding down here. We've covered so much ground, keeping your eye on the prize. I think people understand now where I was going with that. How you keep your folks focused on those things that matter. We've talked about data, AI, digital transformation, covered so much ground. I appreciate you taking the time. And any closing thoughts? Anything we haven't covered? We've covered, I think, so much ground, but thank you for taking the time. I know you are running 100 miles an hour all the time.
Yeah, Dan, thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's been really fun. And any last words? I would just shout out for my team. None of the stuff I talked about is possible without the incredible leadership team I have and the global workforce that we have that's embedded in our business at every site at our factory, just helping us produce product and deliver product and support our customer missions. Just big shout out to the team. And thank you so much, Dan, for your time and the opportunity to be with you.
Yeah, amazing. Good job, team. Every time I talk to Mona, she talks about her team. So I knew you'd work that in somewhere, Mona. And for our audience, that Mona and I are going to spend a little more time, and we're going to work on an article together for CIO.com that will come out next week. And we're going to focus on another I, Mona as the Chief Investment Officer. And by that, we're going to look at how you invest in your company, in your business, in your people. We just talked about in yourself. And I think it'll also be very, very rich for folks. So take a look at that. Just Google my name, CIO.com, and you'll go to the series. But again, thanks so much, Mona. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will see you again very soon.
You've been listening to Tech Whisperers, inside the playbook of the best digital leaders, a Woolette and Associates podcast. Keep connected with us by subscribing to the show in your favorite podcast player. If you like what you've heard, please rate the show, as this helps us connect the world's best digital leaders with those who aspire to learn, grow, and thrive in this amazing profession. Thanks for listening. Until next time.